Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, happy Thursday to you, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great show for you today. We're going to start out with something that shouldn't surprise you. We've seen this coming down the pipe for a while. But Joe Biden today is supposed to be signing a bunch of executive orders, or at least one or two, around gun control. So he's going to attack the Second Amendment, as I say, by decree. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris, the Biden-Harris administration, as they officially want to be called, and how she doesn't want anything to do with the border. She's been assigned by President Biden to be in charge of the border, but she's essentially saying, let them eat cake. And I'll explain that to you in just a few minutes. But before we go any further, we have to talk about BDU, our sponsor, our main sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Boy, do we need support from people like Big Daddy Unlimited more now than ever, considering what is going to be happening later today. But Big Daddy Unlimited is your Second Amendment headquarters. You look above the show, no matter when or where you're watching it. You'll see description to the show, but you'll see links to our various sponsors, one of which, our primary one, Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. I call them your Second Amendment headquarters because not only can you get guns and ammunition at factory direct pricing delivered directly to your door, but over 100,000 related items from tactical gear to protective wear to survival type merchandise, all of that kind of stuff, even swag, and they literally are defending your Second Amendment headquarters on a daily basis. Check them out. Then we have patriotthreads.org. My good friend Craig there that runs that, he always says the truth starts now. And the truth is patriotthreads.org, apparel with a purpose, is a great place to go for all what they call your total fulfillment needs. They produce high quality t-shirts with a patriotic theme to help you with your charity events. Check them out. Remember the initials of our show, JMT, John Martin Talks, for 20% off, patriotthreads.org. Then we have Recoil TV. A lot of people chime into Recoil TV. They have their own YouTube channel. Of course, we have our own as well, John Martin Talks, spell it all the way out. But we have a channel within their channel where they archive our show, and we're grateful for that. But Recoil TV is a great place if you're interested in like the Second Amendment, if you're interested in things like guns, ammunition, not buying them directly, you go to that to BDU. But if you want demonstrations of the latest guns, hardware, tactical gear, all of that, you cannot go wrong checking out Recoil TV. All right, let's get into them, as I call it, the meat and potatoes of the show. This is a CNN story. Let me, in case you're new to the show, I explain this every so often. People sometimes ask me, why would you look at a CNN story? Don't you know that they're like hardcore leftists? And yes, I do. But we don't just want to talk about agreeable things, and I like to contrast. So I use templates from the mainstream media, articles like from CNN, Washington Post, and New York Times. I read a lot of stuff, watch a lot of stuff, so you don't have to. But they're an excellent source for everything that's actually wrong with this country, so we check that out. Anyway, this is a CNN story. Excuse me. Biden gun control. President to take first executive actions, including on ghost guns and pistol braces. Don't you feel safer if you're in Chicago just knowing that Biden, and we're going to explain what this means in a minute, but Joe Biden is on the scene? Don't you feel better if you're in the south side of Chicago right now? Don't you feel better if you're walking down a dark alley in New York City? I mean, doesn't it just bring warmth to your heart that you're safer with Joe Biden? Really, right? But there's old King Joe issuing his decrees. He's already set records. 2 months ago, he set records for executive orders, and he ain't going to stop, man. President Joe Biden will take his first limited actions on gun control Thursday, directing his administration to tighten restrictions on so-called ghost guns. ghost guns. Ghost guns, just so you know, basically what a ghost gun is, according to this, and I'm not sure why they call them this, maybe because they don't necessarily have serial numbers and that kind of thing. But a ghost gun is something you order online. You literally order it piece by piece. It's totally legal, and you assemble the gun yourself, and you can do it over time and everything else, and it's probably cheaper. But and heaven knows they don't want things to be cheaper. But ghost guns and pistol stabilizing braces that allow weapons to be used more accurately, according to senior Biden administration. Limited action on gun control. That's what they say he's talking about. Why are they limiting it? Because you know they want to be unlimited. They want to do away with the Second Amendment. And I was going to wait till later in the show to say this, but I might as well say it at the top. If you're someone who has exercised your Second Amendment right, or you believe in the Second Amendment simply because it's in the Constitution, you can hate President Trump all you want, all that kind of stuff. You can be apolitical totally. You can think politics has nothing to do with you. One of the things I've discovered, I've told you this before, but if I say it, it bears repeating, that I grew up, and I don't know where this word gun culture came from, but I grew up in the rural South in a small town called Hawthorne, Florida, that has about 1,500 people living in it, and about another 1,500 that think they do, but they actually don't. And I don't know if you want to call it gun culture. I can just tell you that guns were a part of everyday life. We didn't think of it as Second Amendment rights, so to speak. Now, we studied and learned that in school, but we just thought about it, and I guess this is why they call it culture, is a way of life. Guns were a tool, just like a shovel is a tool. If you want to dig a hole, you don't use an AR-15 or a 30-06, but if you want to hunt a deer before you go to high school in the morning or when you get out in the afternoon, well, you need your 30-06 rifle in your gun rack in the parking lot at school. Why would you leave it at the house? So to me, gun control, we never even thought about Second Amendment. And what really amazed me is when I really started getting to what you call gun enthusiasts, when I started working with people like Big Daddy and Sherry with an E, they know who they are, the principals behind BDU, I came into contact with a lot of people that I guess the term is gun enthusiasts. In other words, it's a big time hobby for them. They collect guns, they shoot they go to shoots and everything else. By the way, Big Daddy Unlimited sponsors a lot of shoots, so you can check that out as well. But, I was amazed as I met these people because I've become more politically astute over the years and realized that our Second Amendment is guaranteed, but it's under attack. But what amazed me is how many people were really into guns and tactical gear and stuff like that, but not into politics. They don't want to talk about politics. They're ready to talk about guns and everything else, but they don't want to be bothered with politics. And let me just tell you, I don't care what creed or color you come from. I don't care, whether you're a gun enthusiast or not. If you believe in the Second Amendment, you better wake up, because you can say you're not interested in politics, but as we're seeing later this afternoon, politics is extremely interested in you. And if you don't wake up and get motivated, get activated, get educated, as I tell people, educate yourself and others, activate yourself and others, motivate other people, and get busy. If you don't wake up now, you're going to wake up one day, probably in the not too distant future, and realize that your Second Amendment right has vanished. And I'm not trying to maybe I am trying to alarm you, shock jock you a little bit, but it's true nonetheless. And what really gets me when they start proposing gun control, first of all, you can't have a rational conversation with the left on basically anything that they don't agree with, but certainly gun control, you just can't do it. That's why there's things that you might say, oh, well, this is a modest proposal, and the NRA, for instance, comes down real hard on it because they have realized over the years, as has Big Daddy Unlimited, that you can't give these people an inch, or they will take the actual mile, not the proverbial mile. But here's what gets me when they propose all these changes. Name me one gun control thing that they're proposing, including today, that will stop any of these mass shootings. And I'm all for finding a way to stop these mass shootings. It's more complicated than just guns, but name me something that will actually stop this. I mean, as far as violence, we just saw 2 teenage girls in Washington, D.C., carjack a guy with taser, hit him with the taser, caused the car to wreck, and killed a man. So if you're going to taser 2 13-year-old girls, 15 and a 13 actually, are going to taser a 60-some-year-old man, wreck his car, and kill him, I don't know. I mean, we need to find a solution to this, but I don't think that the gun control proposals they're talking about are going to solve any of this stuff. But as I say, you can't have a rational conversation with, excuse me, on with the show. Billy Bob tells me to get back on. If you haven't met my psychic sidekick here, this is Billy Bob Bass. Yes, some of us are sicker than others. Look up the dictionary. You probably see my picture there. I'm a fish whisperer. Make fishing great again. I'm going again this weekend. So, but he keeps me straight. He's got a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. And we are determined here at JMT to stay in the public square. So yes, we're still on Facebook. Yes, we're still on Twitter. Are we being shadow banned and squelched? No doubt about it. That's why we need you to be more proactive than ever as a viewer. Find our show, share it with others, but we're not going to abandon the square. Oh, algorithm may give us the boot, but we're not leaving of our own accord. Sorry, I got a little frog in my throat this morning. Back to this article, as Billy Bob tells me. The steps, which also include talking about this executive orders today, nominating an advocate to lead the Bureau of Alcohol. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I get all excited. Alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives fulfill a commitment Biden made in the aftermath of 2 deadly shootings last month, the one in Atlanta and, of course, the one out in Colorado, to take common sense steps right away to address gun violence. So he's appointing a new and permanent head of the ATF, a Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. I didn't really realize until I started doing this story that we haven't had a permanent one since like 2015. I'm not sure exactly why, but my first thing when I heard he's appointing a new one was surely it's Paco, right? You don't know. I'm talking Beto. I mean, at least you could see when you have. Let me check this. If you have a name that can't be spell checked, it's probably not a real name. Beto always comes up. Of course, his name is Robert Francis O'Rourke. His name, he's so ashamed of himself, we won't even take his name his mama gave him. But Beto O'Rourke, wasn't he supposed to be the choice, the gun control czar for Biden? Because remember, we're going to play a couple of videos back to back. This first one is during the 2020 Democratic primary when they still had like a couple of hundred people, at least 20 in the race. And Beto O'Rourke was asked about whether that he was going to come for your guns. Listen to the applause he gets and the cheer he gets from the rest of the 2020 field, and we'll come back and talk about it. Check it out.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Hell yes, he says. Man, listen to the cheer of those Democrats there. We're coming from your guns. We're going to take your guns. I always tell you, take these progressives at their word. You don't have to wonder where they're coming from. Just take them at their word. And Paco Beto definitely was coming for your guns. And the reason why I say I thought he was going to be the gun czar and maybe the head of the ATF is listen to what Joe Biden said after he secured the nomination and got Beto's O'Rourke. Now remember, Beto said, hell yes, I'm coming for your guns. And let's check out Mr. Biden.
I'm going to guarantee you this is not the last you've seen of this guy. You're going to take care of the gun problem with me. You're going to be the one who leads this effort. I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you. We need you badly. The state needs you. The country needs you. You're the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Where is Paco? Where is Beto? He's nowhere to be seen. We hear from all these different people, but we never hear from Beto anymore. Shouldn't he have been like the top guy on Biden's list? I wonder what happened. Well, nothing really happened. What happened is that they looked forward and realized that, hey, this dude is a heterosexual white guy. There is no room. I don't care excuse me, I don't care what your position is on any issue, especially in guns. If you're a heterosexual white dude, there is absolutely no room for you. Now, if you happen to be like Pete Buttigieg and a white dude that is gay, well, we might find a slot for you. But a white dude from Texas, Beto O'Rourke, I mean, he really never had a shot. He doesn't, I mean, what box does he check other than being on the right side of the issue? But we know now that Biden's cabinet and everything else and appointees has very little to do with actually talent or what your position is. You got to fill a slot. By the way, on a side note, did you see where United Airlines came out with this statement yesterday that basically said they've surveyed their workforce, especially their upper level, like pilots and stuff, and there's just not enough people of color there. Now, they're not talking about any particular ability. Now, to me, if you're a barber, maybe it's not so big a deal if you're not too competent. And I'm not saying people of color aren't competent, so don't even go down that way. I'm saying there are certain jobs where competency is the main thing. And when you're flying a jet at, 600 miles an hour, 35,000 feet in the air, I think competency and your ability to fly that thing and land it safely is probably number one, wouldn't you think? But United Airlines has come out and said that they're determined to have their workforce represent the people that fly on them. Well, I guarantee you they're not looking at old white dudes. And they want to make their workforce be predominantly people of color and diversity of gender. So, when you get ready to get on a United Airlines within the next year or so, keep that in mind, that the person up there, they might have the right tone or gender or walk the right way or something, but they might not be the best person to fly the plane. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably the least racist person you're going to find. I mean, my whole family, I'm surrounded by black folks all the time. My wife is mixed. All my grandkids are black, all that. And I'm not trying to say, oh, I got, black friends. I got black family is what I'm trying to say. So, to me, and some of them, like my little granddaughter, she's one of the most brightest people I know. So if she ended up becoming an airline pilot, I would feel pretty safe. But, if I'm going into the hospital, I really don't care what the color of skin someone is. I want to know, can they fix what's ailing me? Anyway, just a side note there. I got sidetracked. Billy Bob tells me to get back on it. So poor old Paco, poor old Beto, he just don't fill the right box. So sorry about your luck, white dude. Biden said last month following a mass shooting in Colorado, I don't need to wait another minute. He said, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save lives in the future. Okay. But he has acknowledged that passing a massive new infrastructure plan, check this out, infrastructure plan and not new gun laws, is his top legislative priority. Well, that makes sense, right? Because we desperately need new bridges and everything else, even though the infrastructure thing really isn't about all that. The real reason why Biden is pushing this infrastructure bill now, of course, it's all about social engineering, is because they got to get the ching-a-ling, bing-a-ling, they got to get the cashola while they can. Because if they wait another, year, they may not have control of the House or the Senate. God help us, we need to do our work. We need to, as I say, educate ourselves and others, motivate ourselves and others, activate ourselves and others, and eliminate, and I'm talking about voting people out. We need to do that. But the Democrats can't wait for, gun control. They got to get the money while they can. So he's admitting that. That's what this is about. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of what he's proposing to sign today. Ghost guns, I kind of explained it to you, but this gets more direct. Ghost guns are handmade, self-assembled firearms that don't have serial numbers. Some can be fabricated in as little as 30 minutes. I don't know if you read the instructions right. You know which end is which. You better know which end is the end of the business end of a gun. Although one thing I have noticed, when a gun is pointed at you, it doesn't take you long to figure out which end is the one, is the business end. But Biden will direct the Justice Department to issue a proposed rule to stop the proliferation of these weapons, though a senior administration official previewing the step declined to elaborate on how specifically the rule due in 30 days might work. Well, and I don't know, maybe I'm not saying I'm right about this, but is there any evidence that these ghost guns are part of a major problem? Is there evidence? And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. They just never present any evidence. They just speculate and talk off both sides of the mouth. But is there any evidence? And if you have some or a link to a study or something, please post it on my Facebook page. I'll get, or my YouTube page. Remember, John Martin Talks all the way. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. But I would love to see evidence. As I say, I'm not saying there isn't any, but I have yet to hear anybody say, oh, this major mass shooting or crimes were committed by a bunch of ghost guns. I just haven't seen it. And of course, whenever Donald Trump would say something, remember, Donald Trump could simply say, well, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and they go without evidence, but they never present any actual evidence. And will this actually stop any crime? I guarantee you one thing, it'll increase the price of guns. That's for sure. And if you're worried, by the way, about the price of guns and ammunition, check out Big Daddy Unlimited, our sponsor. Another proposed rule would target stabilizing braces for pistols, which aid in the weapon's accuracy. I guess that's one of those things they put up. First time I think I ever saw one of them was on one of the Clint Eastwood movies where they had a pistol that turned into a rifle, right? But I guess what aids the weapon's accuracy and manage recoil. So, there's something we really need. We need, because I don't think people are going to stop committing crimes if you do away with these braces. But one thing about it, probably make them a lot poorer shot, right? Well, I guess maybe speaking as somebody who's got kind of a wide profile, it's really important to me that people shoot accurately, because if they're, maybe they'll be shooting at somebody over here and just hit me by mistake. So, I guess that solution to mass shootings and violent crime, make people less accurate. Then they'll just start using shotguns, by the way. And here's another thing, I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but they talk about some of these mass shootings that have happened at schools and stuff and AR-15s. You know the reason why these high school kids pick an AR-15? It's not because they're trying to do the most damage. It's because it's the cool thing. It's the gun they're all talking about. Because obviously, if you're in close quarters and you're wanting to create the most havoc, probably a shotgun is the way to go, but it's just not sexy, right? But this is going to make it all better. Joe Biden is going to make it all better. And it's kind of like how the White House explained, I call it the wind explanation. You don't know what I'm talking. Billy Bob says a lot of people might not actually know what I'm talking about. So we'll just play this. This was a couple of weeks ago. This is Joe Biden, El Presidente, Joe Biden, King Joe, Decree Joe, walking up to get on Air Force One. You may remember this. Check it out. I tell you what, that last one about took him out. And he actually stumbled again this week on Air Force One. But the reason I bring that up is because, like, all these different excuses. Do you realize that the White House, and this, let me tell you, maybe they need an old country boy like me in there to kind of tell them. Because I've always said, like, when you're watching movies out, making movies out in Hollywood, they need a this sucks guy. Because they need somebody like me to preview these movies and go, is anybody like, this movie sucks, right? I know you're getting ready to spend $100 million advertising, but do you realize this movie sucks? I mean, do they have a guy like that? But in the White House, they need somebody like that, because they said that Joe Biden slipped because a puff of wind blew him over. They said the wind was too strong for Joe. Like, that's somehow an improvement. That makes you feel better. Where in the neighborhood I come from, that's actually a cut down. I mean, you tell people, hey, look, boy, you better not stand up to me, because I'm telling you, a good puff of wind will knock your behind over, let alone me, man, if I come across you with this right. But So to me, the idea that they said that old Joe Biden got blown over by a puff of wind, I don't know about you, but it didn't make me feel any better. Biden also plans to announce new investments in intervention programs. This is all to stop gun violence, intervention programs in violence-prone communities. A directive to the Justice Department to publish model red flag laws. Well, they had red flag laws out in Colorado with this latest shooter out there. And they didn't, he was on the FBI watch list. He beat a guy almost to death in high school, yet they didn't put him on the list. I don't know. But red flag laws for states that allow temporary removal of guns from people deemed at high risk of harming themselves or others, and a comprehensive report on firearms trafficking. Well, when you hear the term red flag laws and some of the explanation of it, at first blush, it sounds, and even Marco Rubio is, and I think Senator Scott, I know Marco Rubio in Florida, I'm not sure about Scott, have proposed these here in Florida. And it sounds reasonable at first blush. But when you look at the way the progressive left takes everything to extreme, that's why you can't give them an inch. I mean, probably the best example is like abortion. When you look at abortion, remember the Clintons made it say, well, we're going to only do abortion when it's safe, legal, and rare. Well, where did the left take it? All the way out to the baby is born. We have a conversation about whether we're going to keep it alive or not, and then whack, off with it. You can literally, as the late, great Rush Limbaugh said, you can abort a baby in the 4th trimester. But I don't care which side of the issue you're on for this particular conversation. It seems to me the way the left has taken it to the extreme and celebrated. Remember Cuomo and them guys celebrated signing a similar bill like it was 1999. Well, the way I see it, no boy is safe until his mother's gone. As long as his mother, my mother died at 98, so I guess I'm good to go now. But what if she'd have changed her mind and said, I don't really want this child, even though I'm 60 years old, I might be in trouble. But my point being that the left takes these things all the way to extreme. So these red flag laws, they may make some sense. But I got a Trump sign still in my yard. I still got a Trump sign in my yard. And I got a Trump bumper sticker on every vehicle I drive, even the little cart that I take my supplies down to the boat with. I got one of these gorilla carts. I got a Trump sticker on the back of that. Does that make me unstable? Well, some people would say, hell, yes, it does. There are definitely people, I guarantee you, that ride by my Trump sign in my yard and say, first of all, they look at my trucks and they look at my Trump sticker in my yard and they say, maybe we ought to go to the next house for home invade. Because that dude, especially when they see an old white guy come out of it, he might be packing. So I've always told you, like where I live, that crazy clown thing wouldn't last but about one house. You remember when the crazy clowns were going around terrorizing people? That would not last more than one house in my neighborhood, because the cops would come by and say, hey, you seen that crazy clown guy coming around here? They go, yeah, man, well, where is it? Well, you see that little lump back there in the rose garden? That's him. Sorry about your luck. But I worry about these red flag laws because the fact that I have a Trump sign in my yard would probably make me a candidate to be put in the nut house, right? Taken together, back to the article, taken together, the actions amount to the first real steps by Biden administration to combat gun violence. How? How does that do that? I wish someone would explain to me. And if you're a Biden supporter, that's one thing I still have not yet. I know people that hate Donald Trump. They're passionate against Donald Trump. I get it, okay? I don't agree with you, but I get it. But where are the passionate people still to this day behind Joe Biden? I don't know that they exist. I've never had a passionate defense of it. So tell me, please, if you're a big Joe Biden supporter or you're a supporter of, all this gun control that's coming down the pipeline, how is any of the things that Biden is proposing today going to stop gun violence? I just don't see it. I'm willing to talk with you, but you got to let me know. Inside the White House, efforts to devise executive actions have been led by White House Democratic Policy Council Director, wait for it, drum roll, Susan Rice. That explains quite a bit, doesn't it? If you're thinking Kamala Harris, for instance, is running the White House, you're sadly mistaken. It's not Bernie Sanders that's running it. Who's running the White House right now is Barack Obama. And that's why they put Susan Rice in there. Did you know that 80% of the main appointees, in other words, the cabinet level and their underlings that are directly appointed by the president and go through Senate confirmation, 80% of them are former Obama people. The White House is basically the third term of Obama, because one thing about it, and tell me where I'm wrong. I could be wrong about Obama, but I'm not wrong about this. Joe Biden is not the president of the United States. And I'm not even talking about stopping the squeal, or we don't say the F word here on this show. You know, we're talking about, we're trying to stay on air like voter mod, so we don't say the F word. We use things that rhyming. I'm not even talking about the legitimacy or not of Joe Biden. I'm simply saying that the guy we saw in that press conference, the guy we see basically falling down the stairs, is not capable of running the White House, is not capable of being the chief executive officer. And, you know, Kamala's on a shopping spree. We'll talk about her in a minute. So somebody else is running the show there, and I think it's Barack Obama. And so Obama, when it comes to gun control, he made it pretty clear in this video during his administration. Check it out.
People have been beaten down so long, and they feel so betrayed by government.
So it's not surprising then that they get bitter and they cling to guns or religion or antipathy towards people who aren't like them. Or
clinging to your Bibles and your guns. You better cling. There's a lot of clinging going on. We're not talking about Klinger from MASH, although somebody like him is actually in charge of our health policy, but that's another story. But Obama talked about people clinging to their Bibles and their guns. And that's exactly, we're getting what we have right now. If you look at the policies, and this is why they love Joe Biden, by the way. They're not trying to get rid of Joe Biden. If he dies, that's another story. But they're not going to do a 25th Amendment on Joe Biden to let Kamala Harris be there. Joe Biden is the perfect person there for a third term of Barack Obama, which is really what we have. Certainly, with the policies, this is really, and you can argue with me, and I'd love to debate you. Chime in on our YouTube channel, spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks. Of course, we're on Rumble, BitChute. We're on America's Voice News now. We don't have a live show on there at the moment, but we're archived on there. America's Voice News, by the way, is a great alternative to the mainstream media. They're on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, free apps on your Android and your iPhone. They're on channel 219, Dish Network, and the Pluto channel. But click on their streaming service. When you see America's Voice News, they have a shows tab. Click on that, and you'll see our show archived there in like 15 minutes or 16-minute segments. Check it out. You can't go wrong. But Obama is actually running the show. At least it seems that way to me. It seems like we have, when you look at the actual policies that Biden is pushing forward, they're basically a wish list from the Obama administration. Tell me where I'm wrong. Chime in and let me know. But let me tell you the bottom line. I kind of talked about it earlier, but I want to reiterate it. If you care about the Second Amendment and evidence, all we got to do is look at record gun sales. And those record gun sales should be going to BDU, by the way. But Black Americans are buying guns at record levels. Every ethnic group is buying guns at record. First-time gun ownership is like 40% of the sales over the past year. Check all this out. You don't have to take my word for it. You should. But gun sales are going through the roof. We're talking about legal gun sales. So a lot of people are exercising their Second Amendment rights. And who do you think they're worried about? They're worried about street crime. One thing about it, they don't ever talk about how gun control is going to help the shootings in Chicago, do they? I mean, or the shootings in LA and New York right now. I mean, yeah, mass shootings are terrible. But here's something people don't really pay much attention to. If you and I'm not, believe me, if it's somebody you care about, and I understand how it's terrorizing the general public, I get that. And killing kids is unfathomable to me. But the reality is you could take all the mass shootings in any given year, put them all together, and it don't really add up to a good weekend in Chicago. It's just crazy what is happening in places like Chicago, but no one ever talks about it. Most of that stuff is illegal, and the people who are actually maybe trying to defend themselves, they want to take your rights away. So I say that to say this. If you want to exercise your Second Amendment right, if you're a believer that you have a God-given, it's not just an inalienable right, which is God-given, but I would carry it a step further. I think it's a basic human right, and tell me where I'm wrong, to defend yourself, your property, and your family. I don't care where you live in the world. You as a human being. Now I realize some places that's impossible, which is why people are trying to come here, right? But if you have an absolute human right to defend yourself, your property, and your home. So if you agree with me on that, then you better wake up. It is time to wake up. Now this is a meme, but the reality of it is closer to the truth than any of us want to admit. They are coming, like Beto said, for your guns. They're going to whittle them away a step at a time. And if you don't wake up, if you don't get truly woke, the woke crowd will run right over you. All right, we're going to move along now. We got a few minutes left. I want to talk about this story from the Daily Mail. And this is the title here is Sake. I was told by one of my listeners that gin sake. You pronounce it sake, like the Japanese liquor. Sake. So hopefully I'm saying that right. Sake snaps when asked why Kamala went to a bakery, not to the border. So Kamala Harris, there she is. That's why I said let them eat cake. She's in Chicago eating cake while people are dying at the border, while we're apprehending terrorists at the border, while we just arrested a major MS-13 gang member at the border just yesterday afternoon. Did you see the latest stuff coming out of there in Texas? The Texas governor and lieutenant governor have brought to light that the facility for children that the Biden administration is using in the San Antonio area, that there are concerns of sexual assault on children, and that people who are COVID positive are staying in the same room, literally laying on top of each other, or people who are not, that they're not getting fed on a regular basis. I mean, these things are, all you got to do is look at what's happening down there and realize there's definitely some truth to that. But where is Kamala? Because remember, Joe Biden said Kamala to the rescue, that she was going to be the border czar, basically. She's going to solve it all, man. We'll see. The White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, I guess when you say it, her whole name together, it makes sense. Jen Psaki fired back at, she's old circle back gal. That's her Indian name, right? One who circles back. White House press secretary Jen Psaki fired back at a reporter who questioned. A reporter asked a serious question. Oh my God, we got to check this out. Questioned why Kamala Harris went to a Chicago bakery when she still hasn't addressed the mounting crisis at the border. So Psaki quipped, she got a snack. I think she's allowed to do that. Well, she is. She's absolutely allowed to do that. But this reporter is asking a question that's already been answered. Because Kamala Harris, right here in my great state of Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida, a couple weeks ago, she answered the question when asked whether or not she was going to the border. Check it out.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today. But I have before, and I'm sure I will.
What is up with that cackle, man? I still can't get... Every time they ask her any question, especially a serious one, she goes, I mean, oh my God, man. Kamala Harris, man, maybe she's the Wicked Witch of the West. I don't know. But she's already answered the question. I'm not going to that border. Remember her own press secretary when asked last week about whether or not Kamala was going down to the border. She says, oh, she's not doing the border. I mean, like, yeah, she's not going to that bar. She's not going to that cliff. She's not doing that. She's not wearing that outfit. I mean, it was so casual the way she said that, man, when literally people were drowning in the Rio. Oh, she's not doing the border. New York Post reporter Stephen Nelson, he might not be around wrong. The New York Post, man, I have to give them some credit. New York Post reporter Stephen Nelson acknowledged during Wednesday's press briefing with Jen Psaki, as we discuss, I guess, when is she going to get a samurai thing? Jen Psaki! take these people's heads off. As we discussed here today, Vice President Harris is put in charge. This is from the New York Post reporter, is put in charge of addressing the root causes of the border crisis. And he went on to note, she, talking about Kamala, hasn't visited the border of Central America or spoken with leaders of El Salvador or Honduras, which is what she's supposed to do, right? She was traveling this week. This is a long-winded question. She was traveling this week, took time to visit a bakery in Chicago. She also went home to California and didn't go down to the border there either. I'm wondering, the reporter asked, is she still working on this, or can you address the perception that she's sort of quietly backing off while Secretary Mayorkas is pursuing some Trump-era policies? Well, listen to what Ms. Psaki said. She said the vice president was visiting Chicago actually to talk about COVID and the importance of communities getting the vaccine when it's available and accessible to them. Well, I guess that makes sense, because Lord knows we need vaccines more now than ever, right? Especially when you're letting people flood across the border that are COVID positive. You've tested them. Literally, this is what's happening at our border. They've literally tested people for COVID, found them positive, turned them over to these NGOs, non-government organizations, and they're being bussed all over the country, and you don't even know about it. Because once they get in the hands of these NGOs, they don't have to report anything. They are literally bussing COVID-infected people into the interior of the United States of America. So we better get more vaccines or something, because if we've got it under control for a minute, we're not going to have it for long. But, the thing is, they don't care. This is the thing about the left. You can listen to what they say and watch what they do, and they're quite often different. Like Obama and, his bunch talk about climate change. Yet he spent like $15 million for a house on the beach in Nantucket. They don't believe it. You really think he's going to invest his money if he thinks it's going to be flooded in 10 years or less? And Google has spent over $1 billion upgrading their headquarters right on San Francisco Bay. I guess they don't believe it either. Of course, we know about Feinstein not wearing a mask in the airport, and Pelosi got to get her hair done at 80 years old, not wearing a mask. But they don't believe in this stuff, because if they did, they'd do something about the border. If they truly believed that COVID was the menace that it is, and I'm not downplaying it. It is a menace. But they don't seem to care about it, because they're letting tens of thousands of people, a record number. So even CNN's reporting now, that within the next year, we might have as many as 2 million people surge across the border. They don't care. I said I got to get Psaki. Got to get that word, Psaki. Psaki tried to clarify, as many have done since Harris was appointed border czar last month, that the vice president's target is to address the root problem of Central American countries, leading to people fleeing in the U.S. and not focus on the border crisis in general. So what Psaki's saying is that Kamala, she's not, people surging the border. No, she's going to deal with the root causes, which, you know what that translates? Check, please. Because that's all they want down there. They believe that if they just write a big enough check, that they can keep people down at the down in the triangle countries, which, President Trump showed that was ridiculous. But Psaki said of the vice president, she said, I don't have an update on when she'll travel. I'm sure it will happen soon. So I guess Kamala is waiting to find out how the shopping is down there. Is the shopping good? Because she'll be there. And will she need a gun? Will she need people with guns to go down there? Because I hear there's a lot of guns, especially on the other side of the border. And the biggest question she probably has is, will there be couch duty? Is couch duty required? Because we know for a fact that Kamala and the couch man gave her a rise. Well, it rose Willie Brown anyway, a rise to this top, man. Harris has been busy. She's been a bit busy moving into her new, we're going to close with this. Harris has been a bit busy, moving into her new residence at the Naval Observatory, which is where it's been remodeled. She's been living in a mansion, but she's been complaining. Just days after she complained about living out of suitcases while it was being renovated. Well, that explains everything, man. She's been busy. She's been busy getting her household in order, and she's probably been working with illegal immigrants all along, moving couches around and trimming hedges, right? But ladies and gentlemen, when you combine Kamala Harris, couch cushion, where's my Willie Harris, with Biden, where am I, who am I, why am I even here? That together, we don't have, the White House, the lights are on, but there is nobody home. And in a way, we better pray that Joe Biden stays healthy, because if you want Kamala Harris, even the Democrats didn't want Kamala Harris, rejected her. Do you remember this? I will play this and we'll end the show. There's this video I'm about to play. This was during the campaign trail before she dropped out of the race, where she never even got a single vote. Think about that. Kamala Harris never got one vote, not one vote. She was polling like in 7th place, but she asked a crowd. Well, let's play it and you check it out. Check this out.
Hi. Sorry to keep you.
No, that's all right.
Oh, well.
You ready to go to work?
I guess I put up the wrong video.
Oh my God.
It's
I'm
not.
so ready to go
The
to
one
work.
I was looking about where it says Kamala says no, maybe I put up the wrong one. Anyway, Kamala actually had a video where she asked the crowd, and it was all Democrats, are you ready for a Kamala Harris presidency? And they all shouted back, no! That was the one. And that was probably my fault. But anyway, the lights are on at the White House, but there's nobody home. The border's wide open. Kamala's not going down there doing it. If she does, it'll be a token thing only. Anyway, you need to wake up, America. Realize that the country is being stolen out from under us. Well, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. I appreciate you watching the show today. Thank you so much. Let's pray for this great nation, because it needs it. She needs it and deserves it more than ever. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day. It's all right, man. I kept